17 days to election 2020. Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News.
Wearing masks can save lives.
COVID still exists. Wear your mask. This bulletin is coming to you live from the Joy 99.7 FM studios here in Kokomlemle. It's our digital address GA0993341. Also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across the country, including ATL FM in Cape Coast, Radio Max in Takrade, and around the world at myjoyonline.com. In this edition, police service says it is taking immediate steps to ensure security of Martin Amidu following President Akufo-Addo's directive in the wake of alleged death threats against the former special prosecutor. Meanwhile, the Christian Council is unhappy with Mr. Amidu's resignation, saying it could have been averted.
I thought that something should have been done about that, because he was quitting a system which we felt he could have, and if he couldn't do it, then the failure on our part.
Also, Bureau of Public Safety blames Interior Ministry and city authorities for recent fires, saying they have failed to enforce safety protocols. Meanwhile, traders at Sekendi Takrade appeal for help after they lost most of their investment in the fire that ravaged the Sekendi Fishing Bay Thursday night. Also in this edition, Africa Director of the World Health Organization asks countries, including Ghana, to be on high alert for a possible surge in COVID-19 cases as some nations go to the polls and families plan get-togethers for Christmas.
Cases have increased in 19 countries, including Kenya, Ghana. There are several political elections coming up in a number of countries. Avoid mass gatherings, absolutely.
We'll hear more from her as she reviews that WHO is working with African countries on readiness to roll out COVID-19 vaccine in sport.
We'll hear from Ghana boxing great Azuma Nelson as he pays tribute to former President Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings.
And later,
bringing the power of God, first of all, and the skill that God has blessed us with.
As for the expectations, it will be great. I never knew you favored me this way. You turned my life around.
And it's all about our Doom Praise 2020. It's just a few hours away, and this year, as we celebrate 25 years of media excellence, we'll hear from the organizers on what to expect tonight. That and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apawu. Please stay for details. And this afternoon, the police service says it is taking immediate steps to ensure the security of former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu following President Akufo-Addo's directive. Now, President Akufo-Addo on Thursday directed the Inspector General of Police, James Opombuenu, to immediately provide a 24-hour police protection for Mr. Amidu. He has alleged that intelligence available to him indicates plans of killing him, armed robbery, and arson, among others. There's more in this report.
All these threats about burgling me, armed robbery, burning my house, I'm aware. I tried to call Kandapa, he didn't pick it. And I know the persons involved, I can name them.
The former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu says he has tried to reach out to the National Security Minister Kandapa unsuccessfully to inform him about the threats on his life. He has instead reached out to President Akufo-Addo.
The president will be responsible for anything that happens to me. I live my life on the Republic of Ghana, and the president has a constitutional duty to protect me. I don't need any security at my house or to follow me. And anybody who makes an attempt, he will have himself to blame.
In that interview, he also denies Asin Central MP Kennedy Japon's claims that he sought medical attention in Germany due to his mental instability.
I have never been to Germany on any occasion. For a medical checkup. I don't know any German hospital or any German clinic, and therefore his allegations are false.
He followed this interview with a statement to further clarify his stance on the matter, and also explains that in the course of duty as special prosecutor, he was painfully compelled to investigate Boko Central MP Mahama Yariga, a man he now describes as a son. Mr. Amidu has also been cautioning that the so-called responses and attacks will only push him to spew unpalatable truths.
But I do not want anybody to blame me when I speak out and it becomes unpalatable. Either the attacks stop or I will defend my integrity, even if that means my death. Let's stop it before we watch death in public.
Martin Amidu there, ending that report. Well, Police PRO DSP Sheila Kessia Beye Backman has confirmed to Joy News that the Inspector General of Police has received the directive from the President and steps have been taken to implement the directive as quickly as practicable. Now, Chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana has described as regrettable the resignation of Mr. Amidu. Most Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena Boafo says Mr. Amidu's resignation and the brouhaha surrounding it could have been averted. He spoke on the AM show.
It was a shock. And I thought that something should have been done about that. Couldn't they have looked at it? Couldn't he have also looked at it before saying that this is the way? Because he was quitting a system which we felt he could help. And if he couldn't do it, then the failure on our part. You see, fighting corruption in every sphere, everywhere, is swimming against the tide. It's not that simple. It's not that easy for you to say that, you have a smooth sailing. These are the impediments that come, and these are part and parcel of corruption. So for us to have someone heading an institution coming out and saying that, I resign, meant that, we are defeated.
Now, he's also urging government to consider flaws in the Japa royalties deal as it returns to Parliament. Former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu, who assessed the deal, described it as smelling of bid rigging, breach of public procurement laws, and an opaque arrangement. Most Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena Boafo says it is crucial the country's purse is protected.
For now, since we don't have that opportunity to say that, let the general public decide as to what we want to do, but we have an institution that has to take the final decision for us, I would ask that let them say that, look, this thing must be thrown away, and then we all go with it. If they have certain things to correct in it to help us, because everything that we do here in the nation must see to the good of the people of Ghana and not some individuals or some particular group of people.
That's Most Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena Boafo there speaking on the AM show on the Joy News channel earlier today. Now, the Bureau of Public Safety is blaming the Interior Ministry and city authorities for recent fires because they failed to enforce safety protocols from fire report. Executive Director of the Bureau, Nanaya Akwada, indicates that they are not implementing and ensuring that fire precautions are adhered to. This is after 3 major fires, Cape Coast, Odona, and Sekendi, were reported in recent times. Even though fire service personnel are yet to establish causes of these fires, lives have been lost and several properties destroyed. Before we hear from Nanaya Akwada, Natalia Kwanza has been speaking to some traders in Sekendi. You heard there some traders there interacting with us. Natalia Kwanza was at the side this morning. She's joined us with more. Natalia, what more can you tell us after visiting the incident scene this morning?
Okay, Emefa. So this morning when we went to the scene, we could see about 16 shops burnt to ashes. In the shops, the owners claim they have outboard motors, fishing nets. Others said they've gone for loans and established a new shop there. Others said they have valuables, but they cannot quantify the amount. Some of them are saying that if government does not come in to help them, they might be forced to commit suicide because they've gone for huge loans. They do not have money to pay. I spoke to one woman who said she was pregnant, 3 months pregnant, and yesterday, upon hearing the news, because she has gone for a loan of 100 million, and so she had miscarriage over there. For now, we still haven't heard of the people who are in serious condition, who were injured, whether they are alive or not. But when I spoke to the MP for the area, he said that the one who was seriously injured was not responding to treatment yesterday.
Now, you've also been interacting with the MP, Andrew Sejapamesa, on this particular issue. What has he been saying about help for the victims, especially the injured?
Well, he did not say categorically that they were going to assist them, but he said they are going to have meetings. And while I was on the field there, I saw more personnel coming and was speaking to the owners of the shop, taking details of what they have lost.
I've lived here all my life. I know that fishermen buy fuel keep before they go. Some go at night. At that point, there won't be fuel to be bought. So if they want to go fishing at night, they necessarily ought to buy the fuel, keep it in some location that they have control over before they take it out at the time that they desire to go fishing. So I don't know to what extent that you can really stop them from buying and storing. So what has to be done is to prevent fire from being brought. Fishing bay where clearly people know that fuel is being stored, or people store fuel potentially. The fishing that I have is that person hasn't died. He sustained about 97% injury, which is serious. Yesterday evening he was not responding.
Second EMP Andrew Sejapa Mesa there interacting with my colleague Natalia Kwansa. Now let's speak to the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, Nanaya Akwada. We're grateful for your time here on the Midday News. So how and why exactly should the Ministry of Interior and city authorities be taking the blame for the recent spate of fire outbreaks?
Well, thank you. I think it's important that we bring a little bit of history to bear on the recent fires. It helps us get the backstory and situate it in proper context. This is not the first time we've had series of fires in a chain like we're seeing now. But we know that more than a decade ago, these occurrences started heightened up to a point where we even invited the FBI to come help us investigate matters. Now, the question you want to find out is that aside the FBI investigative report into fires, market fires, aside the various investigative committees that were set up by the Interior Ministry to investigate fires and make proposals or recommendations, how far has that benefited the country? To what extent have we appropriated those recommendations to improve fire safety in our public spaces? The answer is what we are seeing today.
You reckon we are going back to those days, but what do you think can be done? Is it too late to start implementing those reports?
It is not late. It is not late, and that's why we are trying to stay away from coming to talk about the nitty-gritties, because the nitty-gritties has to be overseen by somebody. It has to be overseen by some state institutions. The nitty-gritties lay at the doorstep of other stakeholders, for which we believe that all those things are contained in the various reports that we have commissioned so far.
Okay, but how certain are we that implementing the report by itself would avert further outbreaks?
Well, how certain are we that implement it will not avert it? Because we have not done it. The only reason why we commission investigations into some of these occurrences is to be able to minimize it or eliminate it completely. So if we have commissioned investigation and we are not making those reports public, we are not implementing those recommendations, then why do we set up committees for which we spend the taxpayers' money to pay these experts to investigate and put forward reports and recommendations?
We're grateful. We'll leave it here for now. Nanaya Akwada, he's the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, raising concerns about the non-implementation of reports from previous fires, and he's laying the blame for the recent spate of outbreaks that we've witnessed at the doorstep of the Interior Minister and city authorities for their failure to enforce safety protocols from previous fire reports. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We turn our attention to other matters now, this time on health, because the World Health Organization, WHO, is urging African countries, including Ghana, to be on high alert for a possible surge in COVID-19 cases as some nations go to the polls and families plan get-togethers for Christmas. In the past 28 days, 19 countries have reported over 20% increase in new cases compared with the previous 4 weeks. There have also been increased reports of health worker infections and deaths. WHO Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matidiso Mweti identified large group gatherings as a major risk factor for increasing the spread of COVID-19, warning political campaigns heightened these risks.
In the past 28 days, cases have increased compared to the previous month in 19 countries in the region, including countries like Kenya, Algeria, Ghana, and Angola. In most of the affected African countries, the rise in new cases is coming from workplaces and family gatherings. And of course, we know that there are several political elections coming up in a number of countries, campaigns going on, and gatherings as far as that is concerned. We see that people are starting to relax around colleagues and loved ones. So there's a certain level of fatigue around this, and the upcoming holiday season may simply exacerbate this. So we're encouraging meet outdoors where possible, avoid mass gatherings, absolutely.
That's the WHO Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matshidiso Mweti. Now, ahead of our health desk, Fretme joins me in studio with the latest figures that the country has recorded. We know the numbers are going up again. What's our status as we speak?
Well, according to the Ghana Health Service, Emefa, as of November 20th, that's today, the total number of Ghana's confirmed COVID-19 cases is 50,631, with 1,205 active cases and 323 total deaths. The total number of recoveries is at 49,103, and as we saw from the Ghana Health Service website, 72 new cases today.
Well, we've also been making an interesting observation on newly reported COVID-19 cases before and during the break in political campaigns. Tell us about that.
Well, between September 12 and November 12, that's a 1 month period, before political parties put a halt to their election campaigns, there has been a U-shaped trend in the daily new cases, and where U-shaped means cases were high and then we had a drop and then there's a hike again, starting from 301 new cases on September 12 to 385 new cases on November 12. However, during the break in the campaign, which started from the 12th of November, there have been significant decline in the daily new cases recorded from 385 cases to 72 cases as of November 2020, that's today.
Okay. Well, finally, Fred, the WHO also makes the point about sustained testing. Why is that?
Well, indeed, we've seen and heard about the vaccine candidates giving impressive results, and the WHO says they are currently working with the governments in Africa to ensure a rollout of these vaccines once they are finally approved for distribution or for vaccination. While that is being done, the WHO wants everybody to continue to maintain the protocols, and the countries should also ensure that they continue with the testing. We can hear from the Africa Region Director, Dr. Matshidiso Mweti, speaking during a virtual conference yesterday.
Sustained and scaled up public health measures remain important, including testing and using test kits to find cases quickly and to stop chains of transmission. In the past 2 weeks, we've seen promising news with initial data from phase 3 trials for 2 COVID-19 vaccines indicating high levels of efficacy, 95% or so. We are now working with African countries on readiness and preparedness to roll out the vaccines, even as we await the final results of the trials, and even as we work in the COVAX, this partnership platform, to make sure that enough resources are available for the work that needs to be done.
That's the WHO Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matshidiso Mweti. Now, I want the public to know that we are getting tired. That's a quote from the frontline health worker at Ghana's premier health facility as the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. His frustration stems from increasing COVID-19 cases recorded at the facility. Joy News' Beryl Ernestina Rishta visited the COVID-19 center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and reports the health workers are appealing to the public to take care of themselves so they don't get infected.
The condition of COVID-19 patients on admission at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital has become critical and needs specialized attention. Health workers at the treatment center brace themselves for the task ahead. Prosper Pobi is a senior public health nurse and a member of the COVID-19 case management at the Premier Health Facility.
Currently have 4. Out of the 4, 3 are currently on oxygen. 1 is not. And out of the 3, 1 is in critical condition. And so my colleagues are just preparing to take him to the medical intensive care unit.
He is worried about the increasing cases of COVID-19 at the treatment center.
We've realized that there is a surge in the number of COVID cases we recorded in the facility. This involve patients who are currently on admission and then relatives who are coming from home just to be screened.
Over the past few months, health experts have expressed concerns about the disregard for the COVID-19 safety protocols by the public. Senior public health nurse Prosper Pobi says health workers are under extreme pressure.
The energy with which health workers started this fight is no more like that. We are getting tired. Some of us have not had our leave for the past 12 months. Currently, as we speak, I know 2 staff of the department who are currently self-isolating because they've tested positive. One even had the son contracting the disease because when we screened the family, the son tested positive.
Dr. Dennis Tete is one of the medical officers at the intensive care unit of the treatment center.
Currently, we have 2 patients on admission, all on oxygen, fairly stable, doing well. They were all brought in a state of respiratory distress. One had comorbidity, the other was fairly fine till we started deteriorating gradually.
For frontline health workers like Dr. Dennis Tete and Prosper Pobi, they would continue giving off their best, but they have a caution for Ghanaians.
COVID is not gone, it's still with us. My advice to them would be to adhere to the protocols and try and stay safe for themselves, for their families.
The general public should note that COVID is still real and is still killing.
The mask is not for your chin, it's for your nose and your mouth. Mask up, because COVID is still real. Our top stories in this edition: Police Service says it is taking immediate steps to ensure security of Martin Amidu following President Akufo-Addo's directive in the wake of alleged death threats against the former special prosecutor. When we return from the break, we'll have sports and we'll get into the election headquarters with the help of Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity. And then later,
bringing the power of God, first of all, and the skill that God has blessed us with.
As for the expectations, it will be great. I never knew you favor me this way.
Adum Praise 2020 is just a few hours away, and this year, as we celebrate 25 years of media excellence, we'll hear from the organizers on what to expect tonight. Do stay.
This December, don't just think about the political party you belong to. Choose a leader who has what it takes and the team to manage and build a strong economy.
Think about the millions who are enjoying free SHS thanks to a strong economy.
Think about the millions of jobs being created and protected because competent hands are managing the economy for you.
Think about the roads, dams, and health centers being constructed thanks to a strong economy.
Remember those who gave you doomsday and handed the economy to the IMF.
Think about a leader who has liberated us after 5 years of doomsday.
Remember, your vote is about your future, our future. Vote for the leader who can manage the economy much better and create more jobs for you. Vote Nana Akufo-Addo, number 1, and the MPP parliamentary candidate in your area.
Let's bring your dear. We're going to make every moment special. Whether it's I See You People. There's more than enough drama series to bond over. There's something to keep you.
What are we doing today, man?
Endlessly entertained. You won't miss the action between.
Nobody will be better.
You know, fit rescue you from Auntie's questions. So
You said when you marry now.
that will give you ideas. Choose DSTV this holiday season and make it your moment for only 45 Ghana cedis per month. DSTV, it's your moment.
This is a Midday News. You're enjoying 99.7 FM. Time for sports with Huntsman.
Hi, Emefa. Is that anything?
No.
Right, Ghana boxing great Azuma Nelson has paid tribute to former President Jerry John Rawlings. Mr. Rawlings played a key role in Azuma Nelson's career, and then International Boxing Hall of Famer says the former president's passing brought him excruciating pain. There is more in the following report.
Azuma's gloom was evident in the first line of his tribute, which read, and I quote, Saturday, November 12 is a day I will never forget, and it's a day that brought me excruciating pain after my number 1 fan and mentor J.J. Rawlings passed away. He showed effortless humility by cleaning my room and ensuring that my boxing colleagues and I had a place to rest after rigorous training. Always a man of subtle acts of kindness for years. While I trained as a struggling boxer, I would randomly receive portions of beans and gari. It wasn't until years later that I discovered that we were the beneficiaries of the debt you owed the beans and gari sellers. You even rented an apartment for me, unquote. It was therefore not surprising that Azuma Nelson made the late former president a guest of honor at the launch of his biography, The Professor. The two struck a bond of friendship in the late 70s during the early years of Azuma's career. The Zoom Zoom Man went ahead to become Africa's greatest boxer, remaining a world champion for a decade.
Nathaniel Ato with that report. That's your sport.
Thank you very much, Hans. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's hit the election headquarters now. And the election headquarters is proudly brought to you by Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity. And the NDC presidential candidate John Mahama is back on the campaign trail in the Ashanti region after a suspension of political activities following the death of the party founder and former president Jerry John Rawlings. Some NDC supporters who gathered at the Micklin Hotel where he's been meeting party officials are convinced their party will make major inroads in the stronghold of the MPP. They say people are disenchanted in the incumbent government.
In Ashanti region for the past 1 month, and the enthusiasm is obvious. People are disappointed in this super incompetent administration, tagged as 419 administration, Sakawa administration, and it is clear that looking at things, Ashanti region NDC can deliver close to 15 seats. It is obvious because when you look at the way the people are disenchanted and the way and manner in which they are frustrated when it comes to developmental projects that they are not getting, they are virtually begging for it. Ashanti region is clear, and I can tell you on authority that NDC is winning close to 15 seats in Ashanti region.
Well, we the people of Ashanti region today have realized that the Nanado-led MPP government is taking us for granted. We have been so committed to him in 2016 when he came, we supported him. But what are we seeing? Development is zero, progress is zero, nothing absolutely is happening in Ashanti region. For him to have neglected us this way, we will show him the exit.
Some NDC supporters in the Ashanti region, of course, President Akufo-Addo is also back in the Volta region, this time in Hohoe. Presidential Affairs correspondent Elton John Brobe is with him and he will give us details subsequently. This is your election headquarters, and there is increasing fear and skepticism among residents of Sandema and adjoining communities about the ability of police there to deal with crime amidst 347 electoral hotspots, as they also complain about armed robberies. As part of the Joy News series on security in hotspot communities ahead of the elections, Upper East Regional Correspondent Albert Sorry visited Sandema to look at the situation.
According to the Ghana Police Service, in its recent regional flashpoint matrix, the Upper East Region has a total of 345 flashpoints. The Bulsa North District, where Sandema is the capital, has 23 of these flashpoints, the sixth highest in the region. Joseph Apawu, a mobile money vendor here in Sandema, is one of the victims of armed robbery. On the 14th of August this year, while on the way home from work, 4 men armed with a gun attacked him.
I closed from work around 6:30 and I was on my way going home. They just stopped me on the way and pointed the gun on me and told me to lie down. I lay down and they collected my bag with the money, removed all my phones, took my Honda motorbike and went away with it.
There's more of this on Election Brief at 1:30 p.m. on the Joy News channel with Arba Kumsin. Now, cleaners are crucial for the survival of any company, but what could be the driving force for a woman who has been doing it for more than a decade with the same company? Happy Avonyo has been a cleaner here at Multimedia since 2008. In our 25th anniversary series of stories, my colleague Justice Bedu spent a day with Happy, and here's his report.
She's one of the first people to get into the Multimedia building on the Fanufa Street here in Accra.
The work is 24 hours. People are here for night and we are here for morning. So you have to at least finish some before the staff starts coming in. So I have to wake up by 3.
Happy first came to Multimedia in 2008. Today, she is a senior cleaning personnel. So what has kept her here for this long?
I am a single parent. I took care of my children, and I'm using this to build my children so that if they move forward, they shouldn't come and do the same work I am doing.
Oh, that's the story of Happy, and as we celebrate 25 years of media excellence, we are also getting ready to him. Is tonight's Adum Praise 2020. What do we say?
Yay, him!
Mapito, over to you.
All right, it's a little under 6 hours to the Adom Praise, and I have Sarah, who's part of the multimedia choir, and she's going to tell us what to expect tonight.
You sing?
So just tell us what to expect tonight.
It's all Thanksgiving, okay? So we are expecting nothing but the best. We want to entertain you at home, and we also want to make sure that everybody is grateful to God for how far he or she, how far God has brought all of us. Because trust me, in this time that we are in, it is not. Easy at all. It's not easy at all.
Talking about the time that we're in, we know that it's a virtual concert. From what time to what time, and how can we join the concert?
Oh, you can join via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on all our platforms.
On all our platforms.
It's on TV, yes.
All right, so 7 to 11.
Yes.
Is the time.
It's a free show.
It's a free show.
You have to be part of it. Adom Praise 2020. It's been Christ at work all through. And that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. You ought to be part of it tonight on Adom TV. Is on all our social media platforms. You have to join us to give praise to God. After this, Living Word with Pastor Mensah Otabil is up next. Habit Part 1. I am Emefa Apawu. Enjoy your